times. Welcome back to part 11 of your letters. Alright, so let's continue. The actual Nubian word for black Uru, the indigenous people of Nubian have their own word for black, which sounds nothing like Nub, Noob, or Nuwapu. How York manufactured Nuwabu. York took the Arabic letters Nunwabe, which he phonetically rendered as Noob or Nuwabu to mimic the sound of the word Nubian. He then stripped away the actual classical Arabic definition, taking turns, and the actual Nubian definition gold, inventing a complete fabricated definition black to tie his followers to a mythologized etymology. Linguistically, the real Nubian word proves that Nawabu or Noob has never meant black in either Arabic or the native languages of the Nubian people themselves. Look at that. I ask, what does these words infinite, finite, right knowledge, wisdom, right understanding meant in Kemet, and what glyphs would represent them? Google responds, in ancient Egyptian Kemet, there are no direct word for word equivalents for modern abstract concepts like finite or right, overstanding or understanding. Instead, the Egyptians expressed these ideas through specific cosmic, physical, and administrative terms. All right, so man, we finna go back to it again, finna break it down. What language did the Nawapu come from? Answer: Nawap was an ancient Nubian word, which we already discovered is a lie, which is right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, finite and infinite to know, according to Lanes. Now, so infinite in the glyphs is he, or dijet, nehe, okay? Which all this stuff gonna make a whole lot of sense when we get further down.
In ancient Egypt's pantheon, beyond the famous Ra and Osiris, there was He, the god of infinity and eternity. He's essence was not tied to temples or epic tales, but to the silent, unending passage of time itself. He embodied the boundless, the limitless, and the eternal, a symbol invoked to grant kings and mortals the ultimate wish existence without end. As a member of the Ogdoad, He represented the infinite potential before creation, a concept woven into Egypt's very soul. His image on royal treasures and tombs was a testament to the Egyptian longing for continuity and the hope that life could last for millions of years. Let us journey back to the Nile's banks and seek the elusive He, the god who held eternity in his hands. To understand He, we must grasp the Egyptian view of time not linear, but cyclical, echoing the sun's daily journey and the Nile's annual flood. Egyptians distinguished between Jet, linear time, and Nehe, the cyclical, regenerative time that He personified. Nehe was the eternal recurrence of creation, the heartbeat of the cosmos. He's image became a powerful symbol of this worldview, promising that the king's reign and Egypt's prosperity would endure forever. Temples, pyramids, and mummification were all built on this belief in eternal cycles. By invoking He, Egyptians sought to connect mortal life to the infinite timeline of the gods. He was the bridge between human finitude and divine eternity. The Egyptians saw numbers as mystical, and He's hieroglyph, a kneeling man with upraised arms, stood for 1 million, their symbol for infinity. He was the god of millions of years, invoked in royal texts as a wish for endless reign and life. His image was a magical spell for eternity, blending mathematics and divinity. As part of the Ogdoad, He and his consort Hauhet personified the infinite, boundless chaos before creation. He was not just the god of infinite time, but of infinite space and potential. Some link his name to the word for flood, tying him to the primordial, life-giving waters. He is the eternal beginning and endless continuation, a reminder of the infinite chaos beneath the ordered world. He is woven into the very mathematics and mythology of creation.
Okay, so here you have He, and you have the jet, meaning eternity, and here you have the flash ropes with the symbol in the, I think the circle symbol in the middle. All right, infinity and eternity. All right, so this, we're taking it back because we know that this goes back to Kemet, which we already showed in other definitions. That's what Afrona was doing when he even brought out the word Nawapu. All right, so now we're taking it back to its root. So we have infinite. The meaning eternal, infinite, or boundless. The glyph, C11. The Godhead sitting with arms raised holding palm ribs. This is the primary symbol for infinity, or 1 million. V28 in the Gardeners list, I9, G43, X1, and N16. The jet, representing a linear unchanged eternity, V28, N5, and V28 Nehat, representing cyclical eternity like the sun rising and setting. All right, this is NOOPOOH's hieroglyphic description that Amenubi Rakapata, Afro-Unu described the glyph in English in the Bible interpretation and explanation booklets 1 and 2, 1967 to 1968, and knew we would find its physical representation. All right, so we're reading from the books that Afro-Unu wrote under Amenubi Rakapata. It says, what is NOOPOOH? NOOPOOH is pronounced NOOPOOH, not Nuwabu. The meaning of the word NOOPOOH is the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. NOOPOOH is all knowledge, all wisdom, all understanding, finite, and infinite. NOOPOOH is the science of sciences and the science in sciences. And that only makes sense when you understand that that he's using the glyphs and he turned it into English and expanded. So if NOOPOOH was being associated with infinity and eternity, that means that's what it means when it's the science of science. I mean, it's the original. It's the science of the universe. Verses. You understand? This is what Afro-Unu was saying when you trace it back in its correct way. All right. So what Afro-Unu did was describe what our ancestors did with the Medu Neter and glyphs and wrote it in English because we as a race forgot how to draw it, write it, and speak it. So when you see words infinite and eternity in his writings, you can place the meanings in noon signs and interchange them with the glyphs. All right? This coming out of the nature books. Listen to reason. The one supreme being called eternal, infinite, right? That's He, the jet, absolute almighty nature, is perceived to be global or round, like its universes, stars, planets, and satellites. Although it is infinite in all directions, the one supreme being could be conceived to be finite and limited in distance like its members and parts. Although it is infinity, the one supreme being could be presumed to be what? Mortal and limited. See? This is talking about the one supreme being. Perceived as a what? A body with parts. See? In time like its forms and offsprings, although it is everlasting and eternity. The unique supreme being could be comprehended to be what? Limited in what? Body and power like its what? Persons and things, although it is absolute and almighty. Nature Book 2, page 18 in part. As you can see, that hair and he head represents what? A human body and also the one supreme being and the smack circle, not just the two frog-headed deities. Look at this. And don't miss. All right, so this here is from the Nature Books 3. As you can see, look, infinity, eternity, totality. Infinity, totality, right? This is the geometric form of he had, because all this is millions of years in eternity. So this is why I say that Afro-Unu said that the one supreme being could be considered global, but also limited, and use the word body. We know that body in this case is dealing with the favorite form of the human being of the God who is the physical, is the human body. So this is another form of the smack circle in a limited format. This is the one supreme being in its infinite, limited self. All right? Here's where the frog-headed deities had and he had come from. When I asked Kuira Upu to merge frog eyes with the smack or the Ma'at circle, reveals what our ancestors knew, and Afro-Unu updated it in for our race and the world by extension in modern languages we speak. So again, this is what I told her to make. So as you can see, when you turn the smack circle on its side, it looks like the eyes of a frog, right? And the Archnoid is considered frogs. But these are actually terms. Those Archnoid also represent the planets, which I went into that in a different video, especially with my tarot and stuff. But that's what it represents. All right? Finite, men, or art. There's no standalone philosophical word for finite in Kemet text. Boundaries and limits were expressed through verbs meaning to fix, to anchor, or to count. The meaning is to be fixed, settled, or restricted within boundaries. The glyphs Y5 in the Gardener's List, a Senate game board used for the sound men representing stability or being fixed in place. D21 and Z1 are a border, limit, or boundary, or a boundary line. So these are the hieroglyphs, Y5, D21, Z1, all right? The meaning to be fixed, settled, or restricted within boundaries, a Senate game board used for the sound man representing stability or being fixed in place, a border, limit, or boundary line, all right? This is dealing with the SMAT circle in a state of being infinite but still being limited at the same time, okay? This is what this is saying. It represents a fixed state. These symbols are describing on the highest levels the one supreme being at the SMAT, space, matter, and time circle, and the lines and boundaries within the SMAT circle. See, these are boundaries. All these lines, that's what these represent. These are lines, okay? The lines that the Y5 glyph represent. D21. Now we finna get into that. The god who is depicted as a man with a modified hieroglyph for tongue above the head. This glyph represents the mouth. In Noon science, it represents Hu, the god of utterance. The lines are the SMAT circles, the human form and the oval shape of our pygmy god and goddesses were in during the top half.
What if creation in ancient Egypt began with perception, spoken intent, and the power to make words real? Hu is authoritative utterance. Sa is perception, the mind that sees. Heka is effective power, binding meaning to matter. To them, writing didn't just record, it aimed perception and nudged reality.
In Memphis, creation starts in the heart, Sia, spoken by the tongue, Hu, and made effective through Heka.
Sia is attention trained on patterns, seeing the blueprint of what could be.
Hu is utterance, aligned with order, the voice that sets things in motion.
Heka isn't trickery, it's the lawful capacity to make meaning take hold.
First, perceive, then speak with intent. Finally, empower speech so reality can take. Ritual-tuned perception, synchronized voices, and focused Heka, aligning temple and cosmos.
In homes, charms and prayers wove language and care into daily life.
Power relied on speech bound to perception. The royal word carried Heka by aligning with Ma'at.
Without Ma'at, speech wanders, perception distorts, and Heka misfires.
Today we'd say attention shapes choices, words guide action, and follow through makes it real.
Sia, see clearly. Ha, say precisely. Heka, seal it, ethically, into the world.
If words can seal reality, what can your name do? Subscribe and join us for Ren, the power of identity.
Listen to reason. The human form is the favorite form of the god Hu, the ancient god of utterance, and therefore the human figure is that of the pygmy gods and goddesses of the top half of the smack circle of order during the time that the top half exists. Hence, peoples and apes basically evolved away from the human form, which is somewhat round-like figures, toward a lesser figure, which is a straight or wavy line. In other words, evolution of persons, apes, and things is not toward the human round forms, but toward the serpent forms. The word human is a variant of the word haman, is a variant of the word Amun, also called Amen or Amen. The ancient god Amun was always shown in a form similar to those of the flesh and blood gods of the top half of the order circle. Hence, we get the word human or Hamun in the figure human. The name Hu is another name for the god Amun or Hamun. Human beings had to be evolving from one form and toward another. We indeed were evolving from the human form, the pygmy god and goddesses form, toward the serpent form, and we humans would develop tails like other animals if we were to evolve much further in time. So he's saying that humans in general, not the Caucasian that have the cockat's tail that extends out the back. That is showing you that if we all kept evolving, which is a downward trend, we all would go toward the serpent form. So stop repeating York's one-sided, non-medical, biologically, no degree, 9th grade dropout. Keep trying to tell you what's what. He didn't go to school for nothing. I never heard it was a laboratory on any of York properties. All right. Animals have tails resembling the serpent because they are modified forms of the serpent, physically and also what? Spiritually. And that's why you have certain animals that hiss like snakes. They are not snakes.
You'll never guess what these owls do to scare off predators. These burrowing owls make sounds identical to rattlesnake hissing. Imagine, a tiny owl puffs up its feathers and hisses like a venomous reptile. Even a mighty bison would retreat at such a seeming snake adversary.
Cats hiss, certain type of alligators hiss. It's other types of animals that make that hissing serpent sound, which is amazing when you think about it. Of course, the tails of animals were beneficial to them as insect repellents, balancing factors, and protective covers for their rectums and so on. Wherever possible during evolution, all persons and things evolved toward the straight and wavy lines, just as all persons and things during revolution, wherever possible, must revolve towards the oval and round lines as the revolution cycle progresses. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Nature Book 2, pages 120 and 121. Wisdom, Sa or Sia. S32, wisdom in Kemet was divided into two concepts: administrative wisdom, understanding the text, teachings, and divine wisdom, Sia, the personification of intellectual perception, the meaning, wisdom, perception, or intellectual insight. The glyphs, S32. This is Sia or Sa. Remember, knowledge, wisdom is our states of minds, but they had glyphs for this. Standards thereof equally. Yet it is the fact that all ethnic races must learn where their places are on planet Earth and stay there for the sake of peace and place for each other. So someone who has the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom has to blueprint the action and point the way, and that person is NOOPOOH with the science noon written by Afro. So this again goes to some of these dummies out here that keep saying that Afro didn't go outside and he didn't teach and all of that, he wasn't a liberator. It clearly tells you that NOOPOOH is the one, and it's called a NOOPOOH, the person at this point, right? And it says what? To blueprint the action and point the way. And that person is what? NOOPOOH with the signs Noon written by Afro-Uno at this time. Once we get into a true culture and all that, once everybody get in their place, then the kingdom gets set up, and then a human being, male or female of the African race, chosen by the people in NOOPOOH, that's when you'll have somebody outside where it be safe. Anybody that came outside before then was insane or didn't know no better. Afro-Uno had this common sense to stay out of the public.
It's no coincidence that there was a counterintelligence program by J. Edgar Hoover. And at the top principles, 5 points, top one says that his job, his goal was to prevent the rise of a black messiah. Think about that. And what would he do? He said he could unify and electrify the masses of the people. So anytime that they see greatness on the horizon, or someone that has that Farrakhan demeanor, Farrakhan influence, Farrakhan way, per se, they tap them and find a way to get them off the scene.
Because he knew they had people getting set up for coming out trying to do that. All right? So once again, NOOPOOH is the liberator at this moment in time. There's no physical person that's going to be doing that until after the cataclysm is set up in Africa. Nature Books 2, page 207 in part. Listen to reason. 9 nature exists in the positive and 6 nature exists in the negative. Whereas understanding nature is learning what? Knowledge of nature, accepting that knowledge to what? Perception of it. Wisdom of nature is indeed knowing how and when to use knowledge, as well as right use of knowledge and by extension insight and inspiration. Knowledge is correct, information is truth. If one is not prejudiced against facts, correct information, and he or she is willing and ready to accept the truth, correct information, no matter what a burden fall, that person is not only wise, but also a person of rightness. A nature wise individual is the one who learns facts, accepts them, understands them, adheres to facts. A person, wisdom, reason, and rightness is the one who stands on his own merits, positive or negative, without trying to put the blame off on someone else. Nature Book 1, page 264. And again, the books clearly tells those who accept information, they were supposed to be out there teaching. There's nowhere in there that it said Afro had to do that. He had to go do all this looking and finding and researching and promoting and putting the books together. And he keep trying, and his slaves, the Sabians, keep trying to compare York and Afro-Uno as if they was the same. They're not the same. They did not have the same directives. All right, York, like the rest of them that's out here that's getting locked up, whether they guilty or innocent, they're the ones who are following NOOPOOH. NOOPOOH doesn't tell Afro-Uno to go out there because NOOPOOH cares about Afro-Uno's well-being. When we look at everybody else then who got caught up, do you see this is why NOOPOOH knew what they were doing? That's intelligence. Other glyphs associated with wisdom, M23. So here you have M23, which is a sign of a plant. When you look at the diagrams in the nature books, NOOPOOH is represented by the plants. In the bottom half is ruled by animals. And this is what you have. You have people down here being beasts. When they talk about the devil is the mark of the what? The beast, the animals, the zodiacs. People out here fighting like cats and dogs, killing each other. No intelligence. The plants represent what? Peace. Peacefulness. But you got a lot of people in the conscious community and around that abuse that word. Peace, God. Peace, Queen. Peace, King. We the only group that say true peace. and represent the peaceful, most intelligent part of nature. All right? Again, let's continue. I asked Google, what is the M23 glyph and what did it mean? Google responds, king or royalty. It served as an ideogram for Nisut, meaning king or he of the sage, because the sage plant was the regional heraldic emblem of what? Upper Egypt, the southern region. It came to directly denote royal authority, dynastic power in the pharaoh. Listen to the reason. According to mundane scientists, there are two major categories of physical life, plants and animals. In NOOPOOH's dominion, heaven 999 are plants, and plants are naturally peaceful and quiet and beautiful. Nature Book 1, page 25 in part. I asked Google why the sage plant was called a heraldic emblem. Google responds, the M23 glyph is called a heraldic image because it served as the official political emblem representing what? The sovereign geographic territory of Upper Egypt, the southern region. In ancient statecraft, a heraldic symbol is a visual badge used to signify authority, kingdom, lineage, and territory. Much like a coat of arms or a national flag today, the M23 glyph, which depicts a stylized sage plant, function exactly in its political manner. The dual emblems of the two lands. The terminology arising from Egypt's fundamental political structure as the two lands, Tawi. The country was viewed as a dual kingdom with each half represented by its own sacred native heraldic plant. Upper Egypt, the south, represented heraldically by the sage plant. Lower Egypt, the north, represented heraldically by the papyrus plant, the M13 glyph. Whenever a pharaoh wanted to display their total sovereign authority over the unified nations, artists would intertwine the M23 sage and the papyrus around a long and a windpipe sign, a monumental heraldic motive known as the Semitawi, the unification of the two lands. Once again, symbology. This is the ancient Kemet's version of the smat circle. And they knew that Upper Egypt, which is the upper half, top half of plants, where NOOPOOH, originally the best mind of the one supreme being, was ruling in the plant where it was peaceful. But in the bottom half, which is the upper Egypt, where all of the people invaded at, it's the same thing. We calling that the lower side of the smat circle, or our ancients call that the duat. The underworld, lower Egypt. The underworld, which is upper. Lower. So this is what we're talking about. We in the bottom half of existence. So lower Egypt on a bigger scale, universally, is in the duat. We all in lower Egypt. That's why so much hell going on, and our ancestors knew that. Structural function and royal titles. Because M23 was a heraldic badge of southern kingship, it became embedded directly into the pharaoh's formal titular protocol. The most famous royal title, the Nisit, or the Nisut Biti name, translates literally to he of the sage and the bee. Now, when you go to Afro Uno, aka Johnny Eugene Brown obituary, it says what? Johnny was always a seeker, an independent thinker, a true Brown trait, and businessman. He used his entrepreneur talents. He opened the what? The Bumblebee, a novelty store in Brooklyn. Now, why would he do that? Think about that. Out of all the things, why would you open up something called the Bumblebee novelty? Let's keep going, shall we? You go to Quira NOOPOOH YouTube page. She made videos dealing with the pygmy gods and how they connect to the bees. And there's more videos on her YouTube. But this is stuff right here. Look, the bumblebees and the pygmy gods updated. All right. Why did Afro create the Bumblebee amusement device, part 2? Why did Afro create the Bumblebee amusement device, part 3? Once again, they saying that a kingship and a ruler symbol was the sedge, and it means he of the sedge and the bee. So we know that the sedge is a plant. We know that Afro brought the nature books, and it tells you that NOOPOOH is associated with the plants. Our ancestors in Kemet knew that was this because they represent royalty. But let's keep it going for the non-believers in the back. So in this compound title, the M23 sedge plant stands alone as the heraldic logogram, meaning what? King of Upper Egypt. Look at that. So we know that the Upper Egypt, again, is in the top half. That's where NOOPOOH reigns. NOOPOOH doesn't rule in the bottom half. If you want to keep exploring how this ties back to your studies, let me know. Would you like to look at the M26 flower bandit of this heraldic sign? Are you interested in the metaphysical or medicinal properties the Egyptians attributed to the sedge plant itself? My response was no. The nature book uses the term king, herald, and pharaoh. We shall deal with the first 2 words. 1, it says here, out the nature book, listen to reason. The physical representative, the king or queen, must be a what? A role model who sets the right and proper example for others by what? Adhering to Noon and the laws thereof. All right, so we know that York is disqualified because York brought religion. All right, he did not represent Noon. You did not see him speak about NOOPOOH, none of that stuff when he was out. Okay, we know this to be proof. All right, who sets the right and proper example for others for adhering to what? Noon and the laws thereof. So evidently, Afro is being considered a role model because he was the one that was sent. So all this stuff about he wasn't outside, according to who? Because you didn't see him, a person went outside. That's like me saying that God rule ain't never outside because I don't see it. That's foolishness. Just because you don't see a thing doesn't mean it don't exist. Or that someone is not doing something. He said NOOPOOH and Noon are what? The true and real guide. The ruler, king, or queen is the leader in accordance with what? The guide. The foremost purpose of the ruler is to maintain for himself and all other members of what? The kingdom society. See, it's no kingdom society for us over here. So this is also speaking about what? In the future, the fulfillment of the constitution of what? The kingdom, and make decisions of society together with his or her helpers. So this, a kingdom is not an organization or a neighborhood or two that York had when he was in New York. That does not constitute a kingdom. A kingdom is like a whole acres and acres of land, and sometimes whole continents. Okay? The ruler is the what? The physical god or goddess. This again excludes York. York always talked about the female was the ruler and the head, but you never seen no female ruling and running things. It was always him dominating. He's excluded. The physical primate, prelate, highest priest, and the physical sole ruler, look, the king or queen, who is the the personification and what? Incarnation of NOOPOOH. York is definitely disqualified because York said he was an incarnation of Murdoch and Tahuti. That is not NOOPOOH. Okay? The ultimate ruler in almighty absolute nature. The physical ruler must be what? Elected by the people of society every 9 years. So this definitely excludes York and the whole cult that he created. York does not fit any of this because nobody chose York from a group of people. York said he was chosen by aliens. He's excluded once again. Or removed from power before the 9-year term is up. So show me where York was holding something to be done every 9 years that they ran for somebody else to stay in power or removed by the power. You don't see it. The 9-year term is up. If he or she deviates from the guide is NOOPOOH and Noon, and it's commandment laws. York did not show y'all nothing about the commandment laws that are in the back of the nature books, book 2. Okay, and it's 80 of those laws. York gave y'all religious, broken up versions and made up stuff like making brothers go out and make $100 a day. And if they didn't bring back $100 a day, they get beat. And if they bring back the money, they will be able to go into the green room and have sex with their wives. It's nowhere in Islam does that crap is allowed. He was making up his own stuff. So once again, he's disqualified. So this concludes part 11, Truman the Cosmic Peace in Wartime.